Hello, Zimbabwe, and welcome to LiveTalk. We're coming to you live from Studio 7 at the Voice of America in Washington, D.C., and I'm your host, Marvelous Mhlanga Nyahuye. Today on LiveTalk, we're discussing International Day of Victims of Enforced Disappearances, which is commemorated annually on August the 30th. But first, let's take a look what is happening here in the United States. The Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, has increased health care access for millions of Americans, but it's not clear what the future holds for the program will be under the next president. Neither the Harris nor the Trump campaign has provided details of their vision for this ACA. But voters are watching closely. VOA's Veronica Boundaries Iglesias has the story.
Optician Tajetov is one of about 25 million Americans who don't have health insurance. She's researching coverage options given the experiences she has had without it.
I might not feel well, and I'll try to say, okay, well, this might not be serious, it's a cold or something not serious, so I might try to put it off because I know I don't have the insurance to pay for it if I have to go to the hospital.
The Affordable Care Act passed in 2010 under the Obama administration. The health reform law is credited with helping cut by nearly half the number of non-elderly uninsured Americans, according to the health policy organization KFF.
Created some new health insurance markets that had not existed before. And this is where people can come to buy their own insurance and get a federal subsidy to make it more affordable.
As of March, 21 million Americans had health insurance through the Affordable Care Act marketplaces. Republicans have for years tried to repeal the law. Former Trump advisor and president of the Paragon Health Institute, Brian Blase, listed some objections.
The ACA restricted choices, increased healthcare consolidation, which is hospitals buying up physician practices, healthcare providers merging. And all of that has increased prices and spending, and American health hasn't improved meaningfully.
ACA supporters disagree. The topic is now central to the Harris-Walz Democratic presidential campaign.
He intends to end the Affordable Care Act, to take us back to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions.
As president, Trump tried and failed to repeal the ACA. He takes a different approach in his current campaign.
I'm going to keep the Affordable Care Act. It stinks. It's not good. If we can do something better, we're going to do something with it. If we can do better, meaning less expensive and better health care for you.
Neither the Harris nor the Trump campaign responded to VOA requests for details on how the nominees plan to improve or strengthen the Affordable Care Act. Former Trump advisor Brian Blase supports reforming rather than repealing the ACA.
Redirecting a portion of the subsidies away from insurers and towards individuals.
For Carl Hughes, an ACA enrollee, this is personal. He urges the future occupant of the White House to keep patients' best interests in mind when assessing changes.
That their tweaking of it is going to be to improve it, not block it.
Alongside abortion rights and immigration, Hughes, an independent, says he'll prioritize the healthcare topic when he casts his vote in the November election. Veronica Boundaries Iglesias, VOA News, Washington.
Thank you, Veronica. Beijing is sending reporters to Chinese cities to showcase culture, technology, and tourism. What's missing, analysts say, is an uncensored picture of China and its human rights abuses. Victoria Amunga for VOA News has the story.
Kenyan veteran journalist Zubeida Kananu still thinks about a trip in July that changed her worldview.
The minute you get there, you feel like you're at home away from home.
Kananu, a news editor and the president of Kenya's Editors Guild, says she was among 5 senior journalists on a Chinese embassy-sponsored media tour.
It took us through, how media has evolved in China, the new technologies that they're using, the use of AI, the use of ChatGPT in telling their story on a day-to-day basis.
Kananu wrote about Mao Zedong, the founder of Communist China. Her article, published in Kenya's local daily, is one of many stories about China she has in the pipeline. The trip gave Kananu first-hand experience interacting with people in China.
They've embraced Africa in a way that I've never seen. And then they introduce you to their culture through food.
China sees these trips as key cultural exchanges. Chinese embassy spokesperson Leo Pangyu tells VOA. He says media cooperation can not only improve the level of the media itself, but also help deepen the political, economic, social and cultural exchanges and cooperation between countries. China's efforts include sponsoring press tours to China and even sending some journalists to Xinjiang, a region where Western media have accused Beijing of human rights abuses.
China literally wants to, in a very, in this very dark way, take these officials and take these foreign journalists to the exact location where these human atrocities are happening. And basically in this very censored and policed environment, tell them, look around, there's nothing to be seen here.
China has sought to boost its image abroad by developing an international media in America and Africa, according to the International Federation of Journalists. In Kenya, Beijing has set up media houses that employ hundreds of local journalists. Chinese broadcasters are aiming to compete with Western outlets with content in local languages, including Swahili.
So now they want to do something different. They want whatever they're investing to be associated with massive information and penetrate to the village level.
While Chinese-funded large infrastructure projects have been visible examples of Beijing's influence on the continent, hosting local journalists from around the world, say experts, is a more subtle soft power approach. Victoria Amunga, VOA News, Nairobi.
Thank you, Victoria. Back to our main topic, where we're discussing the United Nations recognized International Day of Victims of Enforced Disappearances, commemorated annually on August the 30th, which is today. Some rights organizations have been sending out messages of solidarity to some families who are still looking for their loved ones who disappeared without a trace in Zimbabwe. Amnesty International Zimbabwe today sent out a message on the X platform to the family of rights activist Itai Dzamara, who disappeared 9 years ago. The message read, quote, Itai Dzamara's family still need answers 9 years after he was forcibly abducted and disappeared. The organization says it is calling on the government of Zimbabwe to set up an independent judge-led commission of inquiry into the circumstances surrounding Dzamara's disappearance, amongst others. Please stay tuned as we take a short break. We'll be right back.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
For those that have just joined us, please note that we are streaming live on all our Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Studio 7, and VOA Ndebele. We're also live on YouTube at VOA Zimbabwe. We're also excited to let you know that you can also find some of our stories on our WhatsApp channels on VOA Shona and VOA Ndebele. Please follow us as we are still working out modalities to provide all our programs on these channels, so we will be giving you further details in due course. To discuss this issue, we are joined via Skype by Mr. Matimba Mavaza of ZANU-PF, and we also have Owen Chari, who is a former abductee himself. Mr. Mavaza, please take us through the United Nations saying that they are commemorating the International Day of Forced Disappearances. What does this mean?
It means it's a day to reinforce the law or the human law, where the governments are actually urged and reminded not to make people disappear from their countries for political reasons or any other reason. Where it stops, and actually the major countries they were looking at here is not necessarily African countries. They were looking at Latin countries. Where there are so many disappearances in that area. They are again looking at other countries where people just disappear, probably by gangs, criminal gangs, political activists, and several things. It does not really boil on one particular aspect of disappearing. So yes, the day is a day we commemorate. We remember those families with the misfortunes of not finding where their brothers, mothers, fathers, children are, and who do not know what happened to them, whether they're still alive or not. They don't have a grave to look at and put flowers and remember. And all these things, they point to one aspect to say, as governments, we need to be more human rights oriented than being selfish. But I want to say clearly and in a very straightforward manner that this is a situation which we don't have in Zimbabwe. We have no disappearances. We don't have.
Mr. Mavaza, I will, come back to you, but we've just seen the Amnesty International urging the Zimbabwean government to actually put a commission of inquiry in place to look at what happened to Ntai Dzamara, who disappeared 9 years ago. So how can Zimbabwe not be on that list of people that have made people disappear?
Ntai Dzamara is a different issue. Ntai Dzamara is never and was never abducted or made to disappear by the government of Zimbabwe. The government of Zimbabwe, they are actually in the process. The police have opened missing persons dockets. They are looking for Ntai Dzamara, and they will be very grateful to show if he's found. Actually, the surprising thing is, unfortunately, Ntai Dzamara's brother, the late again, he had come up with photos of Ntai Dzamara in some places which he was trying to say there are Zimbabwean military camps, but we don't have such camps. We don't have detention camps for civilians in the military camps. And therefore, the Ntai Dzamara issue, it's an issue which is actually troubling the government. The government is doing its best to find out where Ntai is, and if they find him, they want him to come and explain where was he hiding all along and who was hiding him.
Thank you very much. Let me now go over to Owen Chari, who is a Zimbabwean who says he was a victim of, an alleged abduction. Let's hear from him. Hello, Owen. Please come and tell us about your ordeal and the importance of today.
A day like today is a day where our scars are scratched afresh, where we are reminded. Like myself, whenever I hear forced disappearances and the word abduction, I develop goosebumps because I am a victim of abduction. I was abducted by the Zimbabwean government. Why do I say so? Because there was a policeman who was in police uniform, and all these people who abducted me, they are welded with not a common gun, a gun that is found within the security structures of Zimbabwe. That is the police, the army, or the prison officers, which is an AK-47. So to me, definitely, I know that I was abducted by the wings or by the arms of the security forces of Zimbabwe. It's not a hearsay. It's not something that I've heard of, but it's something that happened to me. And I'm so saddened by the brother who said in Zimbabwe there's nothing like that. We have a person like Itai Dzamara, even someone who is in primary school, they know that he disappeared. But for someone who is sane and who is level-headed to stand up and say he did not disappear, where is Itai Dzamara today? We don't know. It's not only Itai Dzamara that we can talk of. When we were growing up, we were hearing of Rashiwe, who disappeared those years. You still remember her, Marvelous. But people, they talked about it until they were quiet about it. They still want to do the same to Itai Dzamara. They want to talk about him until people forget about him and they stop talking about him. That's why my brother here is saying Itai Dzamara did not disappear. He's hiding somewhere, which is an insane opinion to say something like that. That's disrespecting the Dzamara family. That's disrespecting the children of Itai Dzamara. Even in my time, when I said I was abducted, people were saying that's a lie. People were saying that's tomato sauce. But I have scars on me, and it's something that's happened. The only problem that we have, ZANU-PF doesn't want to own up. They don't want to say they participate in these things. There is a word that we use that is so common in Zimbabwe. The word they say in Shona, unonyangadika. It means people, they disappear. Kunyangadika means you disappear. So no one will stand up and tell me that people, they don't disappear. You cannot come up with a word and something that doesn't exist. Kunyangadika is common in Zimbabwe, and you can disappear for real if you cross parties of Zimbabwean government.
Thank you there, Mr. Chari. Coming back to you, Vamavaza Murkunzwa Vachari varikuti bato renyu rezanu-PF rinenge rinopindawo munyaya idzi uyezve vanenge vachida kuti vanhu vangokanganwa kuti pane vamwe vanhu vakanyangadika pozoita kunge hapana kumbunyikidzwa kwekodzero dzevanhu. Munoti
havanzwisise chichona chavari kutaura. Kunyangadika hakuna kutanga kutaurwa pamusoro pemunhu anenge ashayika. Kunyangadika chinhu chavanoisa muzuva chonyunguduka kana kuti sechando nguva yetonhora iya tamunomuka kusenseni kune chando kana kune dova kana zuva rakwira rinongonyangadika gungukwe kana risisipo kana kuti pachindevere kunyamalala. But zvireve kuti izvo that word rakafomwa after people disappeared. Zimbabwe haina history of forced disappearances. Ma-forced disappearances atakanga tinawo muZimbabwe akanga arimo during the colonial era until 1980 when the Smith regime vaitora vanhu vachingonyangadika zvakaita vana Dr. Parerenyatwa nanhasi kana Gwarawo hatizve pariri. Takatongoremekedza nekupa chipatara zita rekuti Parerenyatwa. Nyaya yaitaidza matagara taitaura kare kuti aiwa kana pane anoziva kwaari kana kuti anoziva kuti akatorwa akasungwa nani kana akabatwa nani enda kumapurisa ari pedyo vari kutoda kunzwawo nekutsvagawo Itai Dzamara. Itai Dzamara haana kutorwa nehurumende yeZimbabwe. Hongu veAmnesty International vanyora hawo kuti tsvagai chibato chinoongorora kuti chii chiri kuitika oro chii chakaitika pana Itai Dzamara. Izvo zvinogamuchirwa nemaoko maviri. Zvinongoreva kuti tiri kuda kutsvaga tione kuti ndiani angadai akamuvanza kwaakavigwa kana kuti ndiani angadai akamuponda. Nekuti musakanganwa kuti vanhu vebato reCCC kana kuti MDC kana mapato anopikisa naivavo vane zvavo zvekurovana. Kune ainzi ndira aizikanwa nekurova vanhu kumabhuku Holland akavatsemera misoro akazobatwa iye akazongorika akazonikwa akafa. Hatichaziva kuti
Vamavaza musataure zvemugoti matsuro. Let us say things that are factual here. Can you hear me?
Hello, Mr. Chari, hold on. Vamavaza regai vachari vapindure vari kuti ivo vari kupokana nezvamataura vachari taurai asi pasina kunyombana.
Okay. Vamavaza, my brother. Ngatisataure zvekugotsi kwatsuro pano. Let us be factual when we are presenting these things. You know the dangers of misrepresenting information, especially when you are in a national radio that goes everywhere. You cannot afford to do that. My friend, stop lying to the people of Zimbabwe. You know very well that Tondera Ndira was abducted. I come from Mabuku. The morning that Tondera Ndira was abducted, people came with unmarked vehicle. So if you want to say it is an ordinary citizen, in Zimbabwe, it doesn't have citizens who move around with AK-47. If you can understand that, as long as you see people who are having AK-47, automatically you should know that these people are coming from the army, from the police, from the prison office. In Zimbabwe, if you hold a small gun, in 2 minutes without so long, our police is so effective when they want. By that time, they'll be by your doorstep to say, where did you get the gun? If there's a group of people having AK-47 moving around the streets, abducting people, the police will land on them or the army will land on them unless those people are part of them. So don't say it's something that is coming from civilians. Zimbabwean civilians don't carry big guns. And also, kana munhu, like vaita Dzamara, vaitaura nezvematongerwo enyika, vakazotorwa, vachigerwa. Havana kungotorwa kuwana kunzi vaenda kunorara, then he disappeared from his bedroom. He disappeared from a barber shop where he was getting a haircut. Somebody said he is a thief, he stole this, in the broad daylight, in the morning. And Tondera Ndira was abducted from Mabuku Chizanje, early morning hours, early morning when people were still sweeping around. So you cannot say that these things are coming from civilians or from people who are not known. When the government of Zimbabwe, when the police is so effective to find out about people who were murdered, they will investigate until they get hold of armed robbers, until they get hold of whoever would have committed the crime. The only crime in Zimbabwe which cannot be solved by Zimbabwean police, ZRP, is a crime that has got something to do with politics.
Vatai makadaro vachari regai tibva tapa vamavaza muri kunzwa vachari vari kuti ivo nekuti zvakamboitikawo kwavari vane ruzivo rwekuti vanhu vakavatora ava vakanga vasingoriwo vanhuwo nje uyezve vari kuramba kuti zvakaitika kuna vaDzamara nevamwe vakadai savana Ndira panofanira kunge panga paine ruoko rwehurumende kana kuti rwevemauto kana kuti vemapurisa. Imi munoti chii?
Vazive zvavataura, havana kutombotiudza kuti ivo vakabatwa zvaita sei, vakabatirwa papi. Nyaya yavatondera Ndira inyaya iri pachena, inyaya yakanaka nekuti mu-MDC nguva iyoyo vairwisana pachezvavo vari zvipoka nezvipoka. Nyaya yeviolence inozivikanwa kuti inotanga ku-MDC, ndo haitova nechikwata chakatotenwa chaigara chakapoteredza vanhu veTCC. Nyaya ari kutaura nyaya yenhingirikini yavaDzamara yekuti vakabatwa vachigerwa, hakuna neumbo hwekuti munhu akamubata aiva munhu wehurumende. The fact yekuti munhu auya akabata AK-47 hazvireve kuti puti iyoyo ndeyehurumende. Kune ma-armed robbers ari kuroba ma-AK-47. Ma-AK-47 anotengwa 50 rands kuSouth Africa. Saka matsotsi anonotenga puti dzavanda zvavanokwanisa kuita. Saka ukangoneka wakabata puti inenge ine musoja wehurumende, hazvireve kuti wava musoja wehurumende. Masoja ehurumende kana mapurisa ehurumende haana nguva yekunoabducta vanhu. Kana machinge asungwa, anotosungwa within 24 hours, anopinzwa mukoti. Kana pakapfurikira
akabatwa achida kuabducta wekansela weMDC uye akaburiswa
Hello, gentlemen.
vakadi kusungwa.
Gentlemen, batai makadaro, vachari imbomirai makadaro regai tidzokere pamongo wenyaya yedu. Vachari tanzwa vamavaza vachiti imi nyatsotsanangurei kuti muri kuti makanga mapambwa zvakafamba sei?
Right. Inini vamavaza nyaya yangu kubva musi wandakaisa muruzhinji rweZimbabwe haife yakachinja. Ndiyo imwe cheteyo. handisi kutaura zvekunyeba kana kuti zvekuda kufadza vanhu kana zvekuita misrepresent information to Zimbabweans. I was abducted by the members of people who were part of the government. Okay, ini ndakapambwa nevanofungidzirwa kunzi mapurisa nevanofungidzirwa kunzi masoja. Mumwe wacho akanga akatopfeka uniform. Ainova Mavaza patakambozvitaura vakati hanzi uniform dzinobiwa. So zvakaitika ndezvekuti vakaenda pamba vakati kune vana vangu, vakatora vana vangu vakafona pafoni pangu vakati ukasauya tiri kuenda nevana vako vange vandishaya. Vandaenda inini vakanga vane mota yerudzi rweFortuna dzinozikanwa kufamba nevasori. Mufortuna ndo makanga mune munhu akanga apfeka ZRP uniform, riot uniform. Zvandakatoona vamavaza zvamuri kutaura kuti vanoba vanofamba vane pfuti hombe dzakadaro AK47 kana dziri mbavha vakatobata pfuti iyoyo vanoenda kunorobha mabhengi. Ende vazhinji vacho vakarobha mabhengi nepfuti idzodzo vakatozoonekwa kunzi mapurisa, mamwe acho masoja. Zvandiri kutaura zvirimo mumanyuzi zvinozikanwa. Pfuti inonzi AK47 muZimbabwe haiwanikwe nemunhu nje, mukatodaro munenge muchitonyeba nekusingaperi. Ende futi munhu nje haangoende kunopamba munhu akutaura zvepolitics. Munhu anopamba munhu kuda kuti anyarare, kuda kumuita mazwe, kumunyararidza nekumutyisidzira nekumumbunyikidza, munhu anoaffect, anokanganiswa nezviri kuitwa nemunhu iyeye. Sekuti inini ndakange ndiri mubato revanhu veMDC vanotaura nekutsura hurumende pamusoro pekumbunyikidzwa kunoitwa vanhu. Saka munhu anongoda kuti ndinyarare chete, munhu anonzi iwe uri kukanganisa. Who is that? Munhu iye ndiani? Hurumende yeZimbabwe. Inotungamirirwa neZANU-PF.
Thank you there, Mr. Chari. Let's just give the last, comment from Mr. Mavaza. Your last word in brief 30 seconds.
Thank you very much. As we have heard, Chari was saying they were suspected to be government officials, but not government officials. We cannot deal with suspects here. We need people with facts. Chari was faking abduction for his own benefit. He should tell us next time why was it so? Zimbabwean government does not abduct people. It arrests. If you are arrested, you go to court. If you go to court, you will be either remanded in custody or out of custody. That is how the police work in Zimbabwe. They don't abduct people. They don't arrest people.
Thank you.
A reason to be arrested.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chari, your last word on the importance of this day today.
My last word is I was abducted by the arm of security forces of Zimbabwe. From those people, one of them was in ZRP uniform. I did not fake my abduction. I don't want to go there because it happened so many years ago and the truth is known. But I just want to say it is the culture of ZANU-PF to cover up for their ills. If you are abducted, they will say you are lying. Myself, I'm one person who knows the truth, that I did not fake. I did not put myself all these scars that I have. You know, Marvelous, that I have 90 scars on me. So it's true that I was abducted.
Thank you so much to my guest. And that brings us to the end of our show. Signing off in Washington, I'm Marvelous Mhlanga Nyahuye.